The story I'm about to tell you is true. On the day of jury selection, it was mid-September, which meant absolutely nothing in the state of Mississippi. The sweltering heat of August was still in residence and wouldn't be evicted until late October, if we were lucky. The courthouse, built in 1870, was a relic, much like the rest of the buildings in town. It wore the face of the Greek Revival: white columns, broad steps, and magnolia trees standing out front. Above it all sat a clock that chimed precisely at noon every day, and if itself answered to the old place. "Nervous?" a man asked me. He was an older gentleman in a light blue seersucker suit, a wide-brimmed straw hat that shaded his face. "Don't worry," he said. "I do this all the time." Then he disappeared. Court was held on the second floor, and to reach it you had to climb a grand staircase polished by generations of shoes. The building smelled of old fruit wood and typewriter ink, with a faint undertone of mildew rising from the stacks of paper files still tucked away in its offices. I sat down in a wooden flip-bottom chair and waited. They hadn't told us a thing about the case, not one whisper of what sort of trial it might be. So you can imagine my surprise when I learned it was murder. The gentleman in the seersucker suit made his second appearance a few minutes later, this time zipping up a black robe. Who knew he was the judge? "Good morning," he said in a plantation accent so rich it slid off his silver tongue like butter. "I hope you'll had a nice drive over. We hope to have you out by lunchtime or a bit after." Next came the defense, who I didn't know, and then the prosecution, who I did know. A young woman with butterscotch hair and a beauty queen smile. It was all a ruse. I knew better. It was said in courtroom. She was vicious as a junkyard dog. They introduced themselves, and then the defense attorney launched into a speech about his background. He was a junior from one of the county's prestigious families, and old Miss Legacy, the whole business. Gilding the lily, as they say. Then he told us the next few hours might be difficult for some of us because the murder was so gruesome. Because it had happened locally. Many in the room would know the deceased. The alleged killer was brought in. He stood like a mighty sequoia, dark-haired and broad-shouldered, his wrists and ankles bound in chains. Though he looked like a caged animal, both sides of the courtroom treated him like he was, well, human. Still, I could tell from the whispers in the gallery and the way backs stiffened in their seats that some people in the room knew exactly who he was and what horrors he had inflicted on the victim. As they began to speak of the crime in greater detail, I tell you this is truth. The second-story doors blew open. Beyond them, the wraparound porch sat eye level with the sky, and before our eyes the blue day soured. The air curdled and turned cold as the clouds gathered and darkened overhead. My pulse quickened. Someone rose to shut the doors. Then the attorneys continued, and with every fresh description of what had been done, the room seemed to tighten around us. The doors flew open a second time, and thunder rolled across the square. Through the open, I could see the great magnolia tree outside, its glossy leaves and creamy blossoms tossing in the wind. Then we took a short recess, and to my astonishment, they passed out bags of popcorn and bottled water. I didn't know whether I should eat. It felt odd, disrespectful even, to sit in judgment of a murder case while holding a snack better suited for the picture show. But they encouraged us to keep eating as they resumed. And again, I tell you this is truth. Just as the prosecution announced they would seek the death penalty, the doors blew open for a third time. This time, lightning split the sky. The lights in the courthouse flickered, flashed, and shuddered, mimicking, at least in my mind, the cracking current of an electric chair. Under the stuttering light, the people around me kept eating their popcorn, one kernel after another, crunching and swallowing while the storm broke overhead and the accused looked up for the first time. Right at me. I was not chosen for the jury, but that day has stayed with me ever since. The day the state of Mississippi made up its own mind about a crime committed beneath her skies.